Yo, what is up, YouTube? As you tell with the thumbnail, the Fox 2.5s finally came in for the L5P. I've actually been waiting for these bad boys for 3 months. I ordered these back in early December, and we're here in the second week of March, and they just came in. So I actually ordered these when I did all my Kryptonite leveling kit, and right now I've just been running the stock shocks, the Rancho shocks with the spacers, the 2-inch spacers that Kryptonite gives you with the kit. So I've been wanting to get nice shocks for the truck. I've always wanted to buy a nice quality set since I was younger. I just couldn't afford them back then. So I was actually just going to get the 2.0s with the adjuster, the high-speed adjuster. But I saw these and, man, I just said screw it. Because they're double the price. They are not cheap. As you know, just this shock alone is $800 just for the one. It's, $1,600 a pair. So, but I will say, man, in person, I'm holding these in hand, they are quality. They are a beautiful shock, and I know they'll perform as much as they look. They are awesome. So the only thing that was crazy is that if you look at the box and online, Fox only says these fit 20 plus, which is kind of crazy. So I actually asked DMAX store, and they said, no, they fit the 11 to 19 as well, because the way the fronts, and these are the rears, obviously, but talking about the fronts, they mount the same. They have that clevis at the bottom, and then, the two studs up top, so, or the two little eyelids, whatever you want to call it. So they mount the same as the 20 plus, but from the research I did and heard, the 20 plus Duramaxes have less travel in the suspension, which is kind of crazy. So because of that, Fox is just listing these as 20 plus, because it doesn't have enough travel, I guess, for the 11 to 19, depending on how you set up your leveling kit. But DMAX Solar said just check your truck at full droop when you install them, and if you're a little short, then just use their Kryptonite, or use the Kryptonite shock spacer to bring it down some. So just got to make sure just to check that. So that's the main difference. So I haven't seen any videos online of these installed in 11 to 19, and there's only one video on YouTube of a guy putting these on his 22 Duramax. He did an install video. So I think I'll be the first guy on YouTube showing these fit 11 to 19. Obviously my truck's a 19, so we'll see how these fit. I went off a DMAX store. Obviously I'm sure they're right. They obviously sell these things and they know what they're talking about. So I was just a little skeptical on ordering these when Fox, the manufacturer, says they only fit 20 plus. And these are for a level truck, because the rear, this is only from 0 to 1 inch. And then here's the other one. I haven't opened the front yet, so the front is a lot bigger box. Comes in here. So, yeah, it's pretty cool actually how they package these things in here. Pretty neat. But anyways, so yeah, so here's the 2.5s, bad boys. And like I said, main reason why I went Fox, because they got a dual adjuster. They got the low speed and the high speed compression, where King does not offer the low speed compression adjuster, only the high speed. And these just look a lot better. I'm sorry, King, I'm not saying they're not good shocks, but the blue, I just cannot do the blue. It's just ugly. And I know you can custom order King shocks, but I've heard lead times up to 6 to 8 months just to get, black hoses and a black decal. It's like, I'd rather just get the Foxes that are just bitching right out of the box, especially these 2.5s with the orange. Is just, they look awesome. And even the 3.0s, obviously they don't make 3.0s for the GM 2500s, but they do make the 2.5s for the half tons and the 3/4 ton or 1 tons 3500. My truck's technically a 1 ton, but single wheel. But anyways, so here they are. Well, I'll do a full video of this. If you stay to the end of the video, I will have these on the truck, front and rear. And like I said, these are just the rear. So, and the other reason why I did not go with King is at work, one of the company trucks is running King shocks, and we've already had them sent to King and rebuilt twice, and they keep leaking from here. And they'll get the shaft all, it's seeping. It's not where it's like losing pressure, but it's seeping fluid here, and the shaft is, attracting dust, and it's just soaked here and saturated with oil, and just, it's very disappointing when you're spending, a couple $1,000s on a nice set of shocks, and they're doing that with not very many miles. I know these have to be rebuilt. I hear people say, depending on how much you go out in the desert or whatever, 50,000 miles or whatever, which is fine. But when a shock only has like 10,000 miles on it and it's already leaking, that's very, very deceiving, or very discouraging, and it's a turnoff. So that's why I went with these. We all know Fox is the leader in the shock game. When you got Raptors coming from the factory with shocks, obviously they're not these, but you get my point. Fox is obviously doing something right when the OEs come to them for a quality shock. So I said, these are the rears. We'll get the fronts open here in a second. It's hard to do it with one hand, so I'll put these aside and let's get the front box opened up. So give me a sec. All right, got the front box opened up. So here are the front with the resis. Obviously these aren't piggybacks like the rears. You know, they got external hose here to the reservoir. The only thing I was going to mention, and it looks like they're labeling these now because I don't think they used to. So there is a left and a right, so you got to pay attention when you put these on the front. Because the video I watched on YouTube, the guy put them on his 20 plus Duramax, he actually put the right on the left. And the reason is because of this fitting. And if you know those trucks, if you look at the upper control arm, obviously you have the ball joint here, and there's a gap. They're not symmetrical, so there's a bigger gap in the front of the control arm here versus here, and then where the shock mounts. So obviously for these reservoirs, you got to make sure that you got the correct side, because obviously the aftermarket shocks, they got to have the 90-degree fitting. So you got to just make sure you put it on the right side, and obviously they're labeling it, so which is nice. So I don't want to keep rattling on. Let's go to the garage and start putting these bad boys on. So let's get to it. All right, so finally made it out into the garage and got started a little bit. So I got the stock shock out here on the driver's side. Just wanted to touch base on a couple things since I'm in the middle of this. First of all, so when you buy the Kryptonite leveling kit, these are the spacers I was talking about earlier that they give you with the kit. I had to use both of them, and that's just with using the factory shocks. I probably won't need these anymore. I might need one, I don't know, just because the 11 and 19 has more travel than the 20 plus. That's what DMAX store said, so I'll see if I need one or not. That's the only reason why Fox says that the shocks don't fit, because if you look at the mounting and the control arms and everything, it's pretty identical. I mean, I don't see any difference from a 19 to a 20 plus body style, other than, I guess, the down travel. So, like I said, that's all there. And then another thing I wanted to show you guys was I bought the Kryptonite reservoir mounts. So here's the part number, but the dash 65, that stands for the millimeter, and the 65 is only for the Fox 2.5 Elites. There's another size, and I think it's 50 millimeter, but that's for the Fox 2.0s and the Kings. I think they use the same size for the reservoir on that size. And the main reason I bought these, it's a little pricey. It's 200 bucks, but I saw on DMAX store on their video, it made me order them before I got my shocks in. They mount here, so it pushes the reservoir further out, which looks a lot cleaner, and then also allows you to get to the adjuster on the reservoir a lot easier being right here. Because Fox, if you look at the instructions, they actually have you cut a square out, and then the reservoir sits a lot further in, and the fact that you have to cut your inner liner, it kind of looks, I don't know, it doesn't look real good, because like I said, that's how they have you do it, and then it's going to be a lot harder to get in here with the adjuster. So I'd say, hey, you made the investment to buy Fox shocks, just buy the Kryptonite reservoir mounts. It looks a lot cleaner, it looks cool, then if they're adjustable, you can get to it, and it's going to look really good. So that's where I'm at. So I'm gonna get these things in. It's hard to do this one-handed, so let me get the shocks all situated. I'm gonna check my full droop, and then I'll get back to you guys, so stay tuned. All right, so I just got the driver's side done here, so it wasn't too bad. A few pointers I want to reach out. So when you first go to put these in, you just got to get the reservoir up and over. That way you kind of get out of the way before you put the actual shock itself. I put a towel here and on the back side of the frame, that way it wasn't scratching or anything. And then obviously if you're running the Kryptonite upper reservoir mount, it's not too bad. You know, once you get the bolts through, you can just get the nut started, and then you clamp that down. And then just make sure your hose is further away, so that way when the control arm compresses back up, you're not hitting the hose. So little things like that. But if you're installing these shocks without the upper control arm, and you know, if you're doing this all at the same time, and then it'll be a lot easier, because then you're not having to deal with moving the control arm, you know, having to clearance or anything. So it can be done like the way I did it, just gotta be super careful. So like I said, if you're doing it the other way, super simple. But really what main thing of this video is, really the reason why Fox says these do not fit the 11 to 19 literally comes down to a 1/2 inch, which is crazy to think. So when I went to put these on originally, I could not get this lower bolt in. So when I had to compress it quite a bit to get this bolt started, so I knew that that was not going to work, because that means the shock is being the limiting factor of the front suspension, which you do not want that. So I ended up cutting the Kryptonite spacers that came with my leveling kit, because these are what I was running when I had the stock shocks in, which comes out to 1 inch. So I just cut these up. Obviously you only need 4, because it's 1/2 inch per side. So these will be for the passenger side. They're aluminum, so they're not going to rust. I just threw some paint on there after I cut them. So literally, like I said, you can see in there, There's just, I ran, you know, cut these and put them in there 1/2 inch, and boom, it was perfect. The suspension is now sitting on the bump stop like it's supposed to, the upper control arm. So that is limiting the front suspension from going all the way down. That's what you want. So once I did that, this bolt lined up perfectly, boom, shoved it right in. So now I know I'm good. So if I go out in the desert, I know that I'm not going to ruin my expensive shocks, and we should be good to go. Because believe it or not, when you're moving, especially on the dirt, and this thing's moving all this mass and this weight, this thing's, if you were to put like a GoPro in here, you'd be shocked at how much this articulates. You know, on the street, not so much, you know, because it's smooth, but on the dirt, it's going to be moving. So so I wanted to make sure that was right. So like I said, if you're 11 to 19 body style, this is what you need to do. And more likely, if you bought the Kryptonite 11 kit, you're going to have those spacers. So just cut them up, or you can do some round stock too if you want. If you don't have these, you know, you can just cut those up with a cutoff wheel and just measure out 1/2 inch, and you should be good to go. So yeah, that's literally what all it was. Like I said, the mount looks really good here, clamps it really nice. You see the Fox logo, it looks awesome. So yeah, like I said, that was main pointers. And then I'll do the passenger side, and then we'll get this thing on all fours. I probably won't show the other side, you know, install or anything, because it's the same thing, just, you know, other side. So yeah, let me get this thing on all fours, and then let's get a review on how this thing feels and drives. So stay tuned. All right, so got the truck down on all fours, and I just came back from a little test drive around the neighborhood, and they definitely made a big difference. So yeah, here it is, all on the ground, nice and settled. You're definitely happy with them. Can't wait to take the truck out in the desert and really, you know, see the full potential of these shocks and see how they absorb, you know, the more harsh impacts of the desert. So like I said, if you're like me wondering if these shocks will fit the 11 to 19 Duramax, and they do, just need a 1/2 inch spacer and you'll be good to go. So I hope this video helped out anybody that was curious, and if you got any questions, feel free to ask, drop down in the comments. I'm more than willing to help anybody out. So thanks for checking this out. Peace out.